All right, we are already live, David. We're going. I thought you
We are.
I thought I can't even wait for you. We're already 7 minutes, no, 6 minutes late. And this is
Sorry, everybody. It's been a little hectic.
it's been a little hectic. This is lockdown live stream as I'm
Lockdown live stream.
and nobody's watching, so we can pretty much do and or say whatever we want. But this is the Provoke and Inspire lockdown live stream. The whole world has been shut down, and here we are, David. You and I, though we are not together, though we cannot shake hands or high five, we are together because of the internet, and that makes me happy.
We're together in a bond in a way that no one truly will ever understand.
All right, here we go. You ready?
Wait. Yep. I want to share this here.
Let's not do that again. All right, you good? Here we go.
Yeah. I'm good.
All right, 9 people are on. So here we go.
All right. Let's do this.
Lockdown live stream. Welcome to the Provoke and Inspire podcast. The entire planet is on lockdown, but I have not maintained decent social distancing from Gabe and Steve because we are probably 3 and 2.5 feet apart. But we are scrubbed down and ready to talk, right, David?
You know, it's interesting because I've always maintained a healthy social distancing from Gabe, but
From
and I
Gabe,
didn't
yeah.
even. Yeah, haven't you?
Yeah, but
And
that's more of a personal thing.
Yeah, that's true. That is no, it's not. I love no, it is personal actually. It is
Yeah,
personal.
it's hygiene related. So
Yeah.
anyway, so here we are. It seems as though the whole world has shut down. As I've said in the last few podcasts, this is arguably the most disrupted of an event, disrupting event I've ever been a part of. Honestly, I don't even. It's kind of surreal, right, David? I mean, it doesn't matter where you are in the world. It doesn't matter who you are, rich, poor, if you're famous, not famous, it doesn't matter what you're doing, what your job is. Everybody is affected by this, and it is in the air. I mean, it is bizarre, right? You can feel it even when you're walking around outside. I've gone on walks and stuff, and everyone just kind of, I don't know, you have this vibe about you, like, well, here we are. It's the end of the
It's
world.
it's weird because it kind of reminds me, I don't know if our listeners know this movie. It's an old movie called The Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh yeah,
And it's like these aliens sent this meteorite fell to the earth and it had this virus on it. And
yeah.
then what it did is when you would catch this virus, it would like melt your brain.
This is not helpful.
And then
Oh,
but you'd be more neat. So it would be like it would melt your brain, but you were more orderly.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
less chaotic, but more orderly. And then so then you'd be walking down the street and you'd like look at somebody and they go, is that still them, or did the alien virus get in them and melt their brain? And that's kind of how it feels now when you're walking around.
Yeah.
It's like everyone is just I don't know, this is really weird because I was in Sydney in Australia like 2 days ago, and I barely got out before they closed the borders here in New Zealand. And it was like this sounds really strange, but the air felt almost tingly with the tension. Everyone is just like, "Ooh," it's like
I know.
it's
I
like,
know.
"Ee." It's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, and for the second time in 2 decades, I saved you because apparently I am the one
That's
that
true.
saves you, rescue whenever there's some sort of major geopolitical event. I save you. It was about what, I don't know, 19 years ago, uh,
Yep,
September 2001, 9/11, and
yep.
I don't remember how old I was. I'm not going to date myself, but I was a young lad,
A young
and
lad.
everything's going on, it's chaotic. I'm on the couch, I'm watching this whole thing unfold, freaking out like everybody else. And I remember you were on a plane, right? I don't know where you were flying, but
Yeah,
when
I was actually flying back from Nashville, and it was just like a beautiful day. It was just like perfect day. I'm looking out the window. I'm excited to get back to you guys. You were in Minneapolis at the
yeah, uh-huh.
time, and then all of a sudden the pilot comes on and goes, "We have to land at the closest airport because of a national emergency."
Right.
And so then it's like, national emergency, what is going on? So this guy he's next to me and he's like really nervous. And I
Twitchy.
don't know. Yeah, he was kind of twitchy. And I thought, well, I have to lighten the atmosphere a little bit. So I said, I think the Canadians have finally attacked us. And he didn't, and he like, he didn't smile or anything. He just had this kind of
He
like
didn't
this
like it.
really, no, he didn't like it. And so I land, and then I look, and the TV monitors just shows burning buildings. I didn't
Oh, I
take it, you know
know.
what I mean?
No
And so
context.
no context. And so all the people who got off the plane went into these cafes or, bars or whatever to watch the TV monitors. And I didn't. I just went and I called you,
Right, and what
and then
happened? Even
you
as
could
they
tell the rest of the
All
story.
right, so, the phone rings, and I pick it up, and it's you, and this was a pre-cell phone, so that dates me for sure, but the landline rings, and I
Yes.
scoop it off the little
Yeah.
landline holder thing, boonk, and,
Yeah.
I remember it as clear as yesterday, I didn't even say hello. I'm pretty sure I just said, "Go rent a car now." 'Cause I
Right.
I knew what was going on, and I think there might have been some news report about how people were getting landed, emergency landed all over the country. They grounded
Right.
all the planes, and people were getting stuck. And so I remember just going, "Go rent a car. Don't even talk." And you just hung up, and you got the last car, right? You got the
Right.
app, like,
I
there was like a yeah.
Yeah, I walked to the rental place and I said, I want to, and I got the very last car. And it was like, woohoo! Because people, and it was so weird. So I made it. So you, once again, you did the same thing because we're in Sydney. I'm getting ready to speak. It's a Sunday morning and you call me. It's like 5:30 in the morning.
So this was a few days ago.
Yeah, yeah, 2 days ago, Australian time. And you're like, they're going to close the border in New Zealand at midnight. And I'm like, oh. So, but you know how they've closed the borders from Europe into the States?
Mhm.
And I saw a post from this girl who said, because so then I tried calling Air New Zealand. What's impossible? Like it
Right.
doesn't even,
Yeah, you can't
and
get
she,
through with that kinda stuff
no,
right now, no.
no. So she said she just went to the airport with not, and I thought I think the Lord reminded me of that. So I just go. So Jody and I told the people there, sorry, I can't speak. I need to be at the airport in
Yeah, because it
30
was Sunday
minutes.
morning. It was Sunday morning.
5:30,
This is
5:30
just
in the
a few days
morning.
ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And so Jody and we just hop, he just drives us to the airport. And
Well, you're
I,
in Australia, so naturally you hopped, like
yes, naturally we are
like
hopping.
Skippy.
And we got literally some of the last seats out of, or quit making those hopping things. So I would be in, I would have been in like quarantined
Uh,
in some who knows where, because if so anyway, praise the Lord that didn't happen. And
yeah,
now I'm here where it's a little crazy right now. That's all I got to say. But
yeah,
Ben, how this is different than 9/11 is it's not, it's like the entire world is,
yeah,
it
entire world.
doesn't, like you said, it doesn't matter who you are, if you're rich, poor, celebrity, uh no one is isolated from this. What Tom Hanks, when I was there, was in lock, was like
Yeah,
he
well,
and his
he
wife,
has the virus.
yeah,
He got yeah,
he has the virus.
the virus. Yeah, so
Yeah, it's
just to
crazy.
give y'all a sense of what we're doing here. So since we're in lockdown, we're gonna live stream every single day. We're gonna try to do it at 2 p.m. U.S. Central Time every single day. And we'll do it, I don't know about indefinitely, but certainly every day this week. We've put the word out to a lot of the people in our network, different people in the music industry and church industry, who can come on and give their perspective, share their thoughts. So we're looking to get some pretty cool guests to come join us. It's going to be fairly informal. And we're just going to talk about what are we supposed to do, and we're reacting in real time. Hopefully it can be practical. Hopefully it can be bring some levity, bring some insight, and you can just be with us in this crazy time. Let us join our hands together from around the world and let us be together, because what else? What else are we going to do right now? I've never experienced anything like this in my entire life. The entire globe is in lockdown. So there's many different angles that we can talk about. David already had his random story as far as I'm concerned. Or do you insist on having
Well, I no, I just, there's just a couple footnotes, if you don't mind. One is I got a text from Nigel,
oh,
and apparently he is he's communicating, and in quotes,
uh-huh.
with some homeschoolers somewhere. He would not, he
Who?
would not he would not say where. He just said
Yeah,
he
they
just sent
probably
me a,
didn't even. They probably barely noticed, right? Because homeschoolers don't leave their house anyway.
so he said that he was in some kind of
Sorry,
communication with
homeschoolers.
some, and he said that he was trying to stuff some toilet paper in his pants and he got arrested at the border, and he didn't say which border. So I
Oh man.
I don't know if that's,
Yeah.
and then apparently also Luke is not here. Uh, for those of you that probably haven't noticed, but normally Luke Greenwood is on this podcast,
Yeah. Many
and
of you probably thought he was, but he tends
yeah,
to be meek and mild, and you barely notice his absence.
but apparently Luke is not here because Anya has been social distancing herself from him.
More, more than her
but
normal
but
level.
but here's the thing: I did some research,
Yeah.
and I don't. She actually has been social distancing herself from Luke for 1.5 years. So I mean 1.5 years earlier.
Oh,
So the question is, did she see this coming?
oh, the odds are good. Yeah.
See, and I just want to say, Anya, you are a woman of prophetic insight that probably no one can even, you know, measure up to. The fact that you were social distancing yourself from Luke for one and a half
Yeah.
years, I think, is a real testimony to your discernment, and I salute you.
Yeah. 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 Well, let me hold on. Let me see if I can get that. Now there are rumors out there that it's more hygiene related, and that this just happened. This is just happenstance. You know?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
but Anya said to me it was hygiene related.
Yeah, well, you never do know,
No.
and but either way, it's a let's call it a happy coincidence. Okay, so here's the thing: we're streaming live, like literally live, and so we can answer your questions. Like we got a question from Anna, and we'll get to that. We will get to that. So please comment, be with us,
Yeah.
give us suggestions, give us ideas. Just generally, hurl insults if necessary. Whatever is cathartic for you, whatever helps you cope with these difficult times, you can go ahead and do that. But the thing I want to talk about today, David, is um, a few days ago, I want to try to get this down to the very personal level because, humor aside, actually, on that note, like my reaction to this whole thing harkens back to an episode of Full House. No, not Full House, Home Improvement. Now, it was a particular episode of Home Improvement when I want to say JTT, Jonathan Taylor Thomas, was potentially dealing with a major health risk. Now, there was a lot of joking that was happening by the father, Tim, and he was confronted at some point about this. I'm looking at Gabe, and he's like, "What are you talking about?"
I
And
have no idea what you're
and
talking
he
about.
he said that he deals with difficulty with humor, right?
Right.
That's how he copes. And I've been thinking
Right.
about that in my own mind because I've been doing what you do in normal life all the time a lot more, which is try jokes in public
Yeah.
settings. And I
Yeah.
have found that I'm failing at a pretty high rate. Like the other day, by the other day, I mean literally yesterday, we got these builders at our house and they're doing some remodeling on our house. And so part of it is they have to have because of the sanding that they're doing, they have this sheet or this like plastic that covers that separates the kitchen from the dining room or the living room. And so they were working back there, and I kind of like stuck my head near the plastic sheet and I said, "So who's in quarantine, you or me?" And they didn't laugh at all. The guy just kind of went, "Uh-huh, uh-huh." I was like, okay, I don't know who I can
I
joke
know.
with.
I tried the same thing at a cafe yesterday. I said, "Well, we're not in lockdown yet, are we?" And everyone just looked at me with a nervous expression.
Yeah,
And then I
yeah,
said, "Yeah, I just barely made it out of Sydney." And then that really made people upset. And
I
then
know.
I know. And then one of the neighbors was there, and I go, "Hey, how you doing?" And I put my hand on his shoulder, and he like just like, "Oh, don't touch me, don't touch me." And I'm like, "Ooh, okay
I
then."
know. I know.
I know,
Anyway,
and it's
so
like,
for all of you people out
yeah,
there that I've offended with my attempted humor, it's part of how I cope. Inside, I'm just a mess, but I
that's
have this
right.
facade of humor, like
Yeah,
Tim the Toolman Taylor in that episode of Home Improvement, where he's dealing with the potential of his son's health risk by making jokes, because like him, that is how I deal with crises. So, speaking of the subject of how to handle this, in all honesty, there was a moment a couple of days ago where I started to kind of get a little bit panicked about this. And I was reading that panic attacks are a huge thing right now, with our mental crisis issues in this country and the world, that there are people who are, written in a way that makes sense, right? They're kind of freaking out, and that uh, our medical facilities are being overloaded with a lot of people who are having panic attacks. They're sensing that something's going wrong, or that something might be going wrong, and it's causing these serious mental issues. And I was experiencing a little bit of that myself, where I was just starting to feel like things were kind of turning and getting a little bit like, oh, and I was reading and reading and reading and reading, and I kept, hitting refresh on things. And it made me kind of realize, I think we need to be very cautious at a time like this and guard our minds. And I wanted to ask you, David, how do we handle this? How do we not get consumed in the fear? How do we not become anxious? What is the line between knowing what's going on and not getting completely sucked into this and just letting it consume us completely?
Yeah, I think it's really important that we take control of our thoughts because, as you said, Ben, you can get really freaked out. And to be honest, I kind of go in waves.
Yeah.
Where I'm feeling, yeah, I'm okay, and I know God is in control, and I'm full of faith, and normally happens after I've had a cup of coffee in the morning. I feel better.
Yeah. That's what I
I
feel
don't know if
better too.
you can relate to that,
Oh,
but
totally. Yeah.
my faith level goes up as when I've had a good cup of coffee. But but then I can kind of get into, like you said, kind of a kind of a panic thing, or
Yeah.
especially if I check out the latest news, about
Right.
and so yeah, I think this is a time where we need to really take our relationship with Jesus seriously, and it can't be just theoretical.
Right.
I was looking at James 1, verse 2, where it says, "Consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, whenever you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete, not lacking anything. And if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all without finding fault, and he will give it to you. But when you ask, you must believe and not doubt, because the one who doubts is like the wave of the sea being blown and tossed by the wind." And so I guess to me is this is a time when I really need to let we're all going through this. I mean, everybody in the world is going through this, and as followers of Jesus, this is a time for us to test our faith and produce perseverance. And I think that comes by asking God for wisdom. So I would say that part of what we need to be doing every day is saying, Jesus, give me wisdom. Give me wisdom. How am I supposed to approach this with my family, with my neighbors, with the work you've called me to do? Give me wisdom, because I believe that He really wants to do that. Kind of like, Ben,
Yeah.
when I called you up or when you felt the need to call me at 5:30 in the morning,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Uh, which was kind of crazy, and tell me what you did. And I was saying, God, give me wisdom. And I literally, I recalled this text I saw from this girl who was stuck in Europe, and I do believe God brought that to my memory. So I think this is a time when we need to be saying, Jesus, this is a testing time, and you can kind of start getting freaked out by it, but instead go to God and say, God, I need your wisdom. Give me wisdom. And I think
Hmm.
He wants to do that. And then when He does, I think it's important that we trust it. We trust what God is telling us. What do you think?
Yeah. No, absolutely. And I think that I think really living intentionally right now, I think what's a challenge about all this is that for everyone, for most people, their routines and thrown into chaos, and it can become easy to just not think, not structure the way you're living right now. And I think it's very, very important that we're cautious of the way we're spending our time. A lot of us are going to all of a sudden have a lot more time. And in our age, what that can mean is that we just sit there looking at our phones all day. And that's been my problem. I've been guilty of that. I've just been looking at Gabe and Steve, and they kind of like lifted their eyes up like, is he talking to us? That's been my problem, right? Is that I'm sitting there looking at my phone constantly. And the problem right now is you cannot get away from this. you turn on your radio, you go on a walk, you talk to someone at a coffee shop, you go on your phone. The whole world is talking about this and this only, and I understand that. But I think part of this is we have to discipline ourselves to say, I've got to take a break. And that's a little bit of what was going on with me. Is I was just, well, to be honest, I'm still kind of guilty of this. I've got to, I feel this sense that I got to control how much I'm consuming, how much media I'm allowing myself to consume. This was an issue before this broke out, right? But it's like we have this just hyper super highway for information, and it's just like it's just completely on 10 right now, or on an 11, as Nigel would say. Not the Nigel I'm talking about.
Yeah, but it's interesting too because the first thing I did when I woke up, I could I didn't sleep. I was kind of sleeping off and on last night, and then I got up really early, and the first thing I look at the news, and they're saying that there's a lot of misinformation out there,
Right.
that people are putting out. So again, that can just start getting you on this kind of spiral of freaking out, and then just being on your phone all the time. And yesterday, New Zealand time, I just felt like, I said to Jody, for those of you that don't know, Jody is my wife and Ben's mother, Jody. And so anyway, I said to
What?
Jody,
What is
I
this?
don't know, but
Genealogy.com?
I don't know, but people might go, Jody, who's Jody? So I said, Jody, we just
Mother
need to,
of.
we
Mother
need
of.
to, we need to get
Hey.
offline and go and spend time with God.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. We
Yeah.
got offline. We went for, I don't know how long, a good long time, just talking. First of all, it's important to express what you're feeling, to God and with your someone close to you,
Right.
if you have a husband or wife, or if you have a good friend, but you need to express it. I think bring it into the light. Hey, I'm kind of feeling this or that.
Agreed.
Talk about it and then bring it to God.
Right.
Um, and I think that's really critical. And like it says in Proverbs 3:5, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In
Right.
all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. And so this is an opportunity for us to lean not on our own understanding, not get our guidance from just the crazy hyper news cycles that we are on right now, and
Hmm.
say and start to trust in the Lord. I think this is a time
Yeah.
when he wants to speak to us and give us peace in this situation.
Yeah. And I think that's a little bit of what I was saying about taking control, is that um not just letting it sweep, like take you out like the tide, like you just get sucked into it, and you're now, your routine has been thrown off, and you're kind of being sucked into the whole cycle of it. And it's like fake news, real news, somewhere in between. It's like you can kind of look for whatever you want and confirm that, and then pretty soon you'll find something else to counter it. But the point is saying, I'm gonna control this. I'm not gonna let it control me. I'm gonna stay informed. Being informed matters. I want to be safe. I want to be wise, and we'll talk more about that in the days that come, how to be wise. But I think just saying, I'm not going to let this control me. God, you still are in control, right? And I'm going to use this as an opportunity to, put the phone down, and like you said, go on that prayer walk, start the day, praying. Even for me, today was Monday, and I don't typically do my really early morning prayer routine on the weekends. But even as this day rolled around, I had this thought in my head, like, oh, do you really need to do your routine? Everything's kind of crazy, and the whole world is kind of coming to an end. And I was like, no, now more than ever, I need to do this. I need to be getting up. I need to take that deep breath and remind myself of who God is. And also, I think part of this is say to him, what would you want me to do with this unique time? It is, yes, it's incredibly tragic and difficult, but also to say, God, are you wanting to do something in our world and in my life in a unique way through this? And kind of see this as an opportunity and say, no, okay, I'm gonna use this. I have a list here, but take advantage of this opportunity to spiritually refocus, to say, God, where in my life have I depended on things that are not that dependable? Where have I put my hope in things that are not my hope? And to say, okay, God, all of this has been stripped away. I really only can trust you at this point, and to kind of renew my focus. And so part of this, don't you think, David, is saying, I'm gonna seize the day here and not let this just pass and be consumed in social media, and then, Lord willing, it's over. But I want to learn from this and learn whatever God wants me to learn.
Yeah, for sure. And I think um, often the time that I want to pray the least is when I should pray the most.
Right.
And it's like because you know I if I'm being honest with our listeners, I can be really distracted because of this. You know, it's hard for me to be focused for very long because I want to check what's the latest thing or see what's happening. And I think it's important that I discipline myself, that I take the time to really seek God and use the opportunity. I mean, it's like when Jody and I were flying back to New Zealand from Sydney. You know, there's this lady sitting next to us on the plane, and she was like everyone on the plane. Everyone's a little hyper,
Right.
and so we Jody had a little bit of sanitizer. She has one of those. So I said, "Hey, you want some hand sanitizer?" It seems
She tried to sell it to her for like three
yeah,
times the
right.
value.
I know. Can you believe that? But anyway, no.
That's what Nigel
So
would do.
it seems like a stupid thing, but she was like really it meant something to her. Hey, have this, you know, because she I said use this, and then I said it, and then later I said, can I pray with you? And she said, yeah, please. And you could tell um,
Yeah.
it was a really important opportunity to do that because of what people are feeling. But I know it sounds like a very small, dumb, dumb
No.
example, but share your hand sanitizer with people. You know,
Yeah.
this this is an opportunity to reach out to people who are scared and pray with them. And you know, I think, okay, I know Jesus. I have a relationship with him. You know, and I know, Ben, that you have a strong foundation and relationship with him as well. And it's hard on us. How is it for people that don't have anything? You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
don't
I
know
can't
God.
imagine.
They don't can you imagine what how
No.
it is for them when we have this foundation? And I know many of you who are listening to us, you have this foundation. Try to put yourself in the shoes of your neighbors and your friends and your colleagues at work or in school. If the school is still happening, you know, think about what they're dealing with when they don't have this foundation, you know, when
Yeah.
basically all everything is taken away, you know.
Yeah.
And so this is more than ever we need to think about share your hand sanitizer, reach out to your neighbors, you know, look at ways to, and then tell them, hey, this is I know this is a difficult time, but let me tell you where I can you can find peace and pray with them. Tell them about
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, again, that comes under the general heading of what I'm talking about, which is be intentional with this time. Um, Obviously, our prayers that it would pass and that people would be healthy, and that for those that are suffering as a result of this, that they would find relief. Of course, you know, something I wrote down the other day is even self quarantine is a luxury, not a right. I mean, think about it. You know, I saw a quote from one of our missionaries from Brazil, you know, and he wrote, his name's David Kim, and he wrote, life still goes on as usual at my corner of the world. For many of these people, self imposed isolation is not a choice. The ongoing threat of not having enough to feed their kids is greater than the immediate threat from abroad. You know, and it made me think, even the luxury of being able to like separate yourself and just not go to work, and you know that in of itself is a luxury. There are a lot of people in the world that they don't have that option. You know, they have to continue on. Um, so I just think it's about being sensitive to the times. It's about saying, God, use me. You know, that was my prayer this morning. I'm walking around in my unfinished basement and I'm going, God, I don't know what you can do through me. But one, let this just be a refining fire to burn away any false dependence I have in my life. Right? Let it burn away something that I've been, you know, because we can say we depend on God, but push comes to shove, we really depend on our jobs, our, you know, our economies, our countries, our governments, our bodies, you know, all these things that really are failing. So I think the first thing for me is Lord, let this refine my understanding of reality. That life is short, that we are fragile and dependent. And then the second thing is, God, use me. You know, let us not let this moment pass without using this for the gospel. And again, I'm not wishing this upon anyone or the world, but the fact of the matter is, we are in this position, and it brings with it very unique opportunities for demonstrating and embodying the love of Jesus. in simple ways, in, like you said, in sharing the resources you have. I've seen people posting, hey, I'm able to take your kids if you have to get to work and have no options. Come drop them off at my house. People saying, hey, I know your kids depend on school for their meals. If they don't have food, they can come get it from me, no judgment. I just think this is a time where we should be taking the right kinds of risks. Be cautious and all that, but there are creative, Holy Spirit inspired ways to embody the love of Jesus and to use this time in an intentional way. But I think the first thing is we've got to not let ourselves be consumed by it in a healthy way. Being aware is not the same as being consumed. And I think if we're consumed, the enemy is going to make us afraid and immobilized, and we're not going to be useful to anyone. So the first thing is don't let it consume you. And part of that is set boundaries. Say, you know what? I'm going to check my phone. I'm going to be even more disciplined with my phone usage now than I was prior to all this because I have to be. I have to guard my mind. I will check it at this moment for this amount of time to get any information I might need to get, and then I'm putting it down. And that might seem ironic given that we're live streaming here. So if this is your 5 minutes, we got lucky. But I think you know the point I'm trying to make. Be intentional. Don't let it consume you. And then say, Jesus, what would you have me do in light of this?
Yeah. And yeah, I think it's only going to happen if we're intentional because as we were have been talking about this whole time, there is this worldwide panic and fear that is out there. And if we aren't intentionally moving against it, we're going to be caught up in it as well. And that's not how, as a Jesus follower, I'm supposed to live my life. I'm supposed to live it. I'm supposed to have faith, and I'm supposed to know that um, I have a foundation that is stronger than my circumstances. And it's always easy to talk about that when you're not facing anything. But now is the time for our faith to be tested, and so let's make a decision together as a community to really spend more time seeking Jesus, asking for his heart, asking for his eyes to see all those around us who don't have this foundation. They don't know, they don't have this peace that they can receive from God because they don't have this relationship with him. And let's make every effort to be that voice. I
Mm-hmm.
think it's more. And I've actually been wondering if this isn't going to be some of the most fruitful times that we're going to see this next. I don't know how long this crisis is going to last, but I've been praying that this will be the most fruitful time that we'll see in terms of people finding and coming to Jesus, because people are so in need of that right now. And I think it's taken away the false security that you can feel or think you have.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And again, as I've already said, I do think that this will pass. Um, and I don't want to let it pass without learning everything that God would have me learn and taking advantage of every opportunity that He would want me to take advantage of. And again, as I've continually said, that's not to say I wish this upon the world or anybody else, but this is the reality. And our fragility is the reality, and our dependence is the reality, whether we know it or not. Um, and I don't want to waste it. I want, you know, again, it says in James, let trial have its perfect work in you. Let it have its perfect work in you. I don't think that just going through something difficult means you grow. I think there is a degree of submission and response required to sort of extract the goodness out of it. And I think God would want to do something good in his church and in his people and in his followers that would leave us not only as powerful tools in his hands now, but more refined and powerful tools after this. And to really let this not like, let us not sink back into self-reliance and self-dependence. Even though that, of course, to some degree is human nature, that's kind of been my prayer for my own life.
Yep, I
So
agree.
yeah. So
Yeah,
again, unless David, you got some other thoughts. We don't have to necessarily make these super long. Like I said, we plan on doing this every day this week. We'd love for you to be part of this. We'd love for you to join in on the conversation. We've had some good comments, not a whole ton of questions. Anna says chose one reliable. So I suppose this is referring to herself. Chose one reliable source of updates and ignore the rest. That's good advice. Pick something that in theory you can trust, and try not to become bogged down by the rest. But we'd love for you to participate. Many of you have tuned in as we've been talking here, so feel free to leave us a comment. We'll throw it up. We'll try to answer it. Again, 2
Tomorrow.
p.m. Yeah,
Yeah.
tomorrow, 2 p.m. Central, U.S. Central Time. It's kind of the most neutral time we can think of. It kind of hits most of the world. For those that it's the middle of the night, we're sorry. We'll try to bring on some guests from throughout the Christian world if they're available. From what I understand, people's schedules are fairly limited at the moment. Things have been quite reduced. So while we're in lockdown, let us be together. Oh yes, right, David?
Yes, and yeah, let us know what you want to talk about tomorrow. And
Hmm.
we have some thoughts, but I think it's great that we can do this every day,
Yeah,
and I think it's a good idea.
and maybe as a challenge, maybe let this let this be the last thing you consume online today. Maybe put the phone down, close the laptop, and seek God. Say, Lord, help me to not be consumed by this in the wrong way. Let me be wise. Let me go through this trial in a way that refines my character. Let me be used by you in a powerful way. That's certainly the desire I have for my own heart. And I think we can ill afford to abandon the foundations of our faith, which I think is going to give us the strength to demonstrate the resilience of what we believe at a time when the world needs it more than ever. So let's make seeking God even more of a priority. Again, you can join our podcast community group on Facebook. Just type in Provoke and Inspire Podcast Community. Join, share your thoughts, your feedback, your prayer needs. Let us be a community for one another as best as we can. Let us know how we can pray for you, how we can support you. Let us genuinely be a community for one another at a time like this. You can have more information about what we're doing at steiger.org, steiger.org. Obviously, we're in a very volatile time right now as a mission, with a lot of what we do being public and outdoor. Needless to say, those are kind of a challenge right now. One thing that you could join in with us on is, if you want to, one thing we've done as a mission is we've wanted to have this sort of public declaration of our faith in Jesus at a time like this. So what we've done is we've held out signs. We've put some encouraging message on there, like we need it.
I'm gonna go get a sign and show.
Yeah, but
So
your
keep
sign.
talking.
Can we talk about your sign for a
No,
minute?
just let me. I'm gonna get it. Just a second.
So what we've been doing as a mission is we've been writing things on signs, encouraging messages about our faith in Jesus, about our hope beyond this world. And then we've been using the hashtag hope beyond fear, hashtag hope beyond fear. And so we want to encourage all of you to go out and do that yourself. Go get a sign, and go out in a public place. You obviously don't need to go near other people. You can practice your social distancing, but just hold up that sign as a declaration of who Jesus is, of our faith in him. Use the hashtag hope beyond fear. There's already hundreds and hundreds of these that we've done throughout the world, throughout our mission. Join in with us. This is not just for us. That's upside down. Can we talk about David's? David did this, and he posted on Instagram, and 2/3 of the sign was not visible to the public. Just like this, he's demonstrating this perfectly. You got to hold that back. And next time you take a picture, you should probably check that the sign is legible. Anyway, go out, make a sign.
So,
Yeah,
so if you can't look at, I mean, look at this sign. I think everyone, all of our listeners, we've had hundreds of these posted now,
hundreds and
haven't we?
hundreds and hundreds. Yeah,
Yeah. So you just put, like I've got Jesus listens and cares. Why do I fear? Candela, which is fire in Spanish. No balance, and then hashtag hope beyond fear. Hashtag is there more? So let's all do this.
yeah,
Let's go crazy with this. What did you
yeah.
have? What was your sign, Ben?
What was my sign? Is the world coming to an end? Was that my sign?
Well, that
I
doesn't
don't know.
sound very
I
uplifting.
know. Sorry, that was a little pessimistic. But
What was
hey, it's
Gabe?
it's an important question. We're not going to do the what was your sign game.
Well, I just want to know what Gabe's was.
Hey, and Dave Taylor Graham asks, and it's a good question. David
What?
made it to New Zealand. When you post these, like, help me, pray for me, you got to let people know when
I
you got
did
to.
let him know.
He made it. He made
I
it.
made no. Okay, no, I'm not. I got here. I'm not in quarantine because I got here before the deadline, and
Barely,
so
because I
bear.
saved the day. Well, okay,
Yeah.
I'm not going to take credit, but yes.
No. So no, I didn't get. I'm not in quarantine, and Yeah, praise the Lord for that.
Yes. Again, go on the street somewhere or just in your backyard, put a sign with a, you can, if you look at the hashtag beyond hope beyond fear, you'll see hundreds of examples of what you can do. Join in this movement. Let's challenge people. Let's inspire people. Otherwise, every day this week, 2 p.m. US Central Time, we are going to bring on guests. We're going to talk about this. We're going to, it's going to be lockdown live stream because after all, we can't go nowhere. So let's be together. Put it on a t-shirt, hashtag, and we'll talk to you next time. Right, David?
Yeah, it's cool. Talk to you tomorrow.
Yeah, peace.